We're going to be looking at HS2, and that is crazy not to renew the project over soaring costs, according to Shapps. Let's read more into this, guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from the BBC with the headline that High-Speed Rail 2, that's HS2, crazy not to renew the project over soaring costs, says Shapps. Let's read into it and read his thoughts, and then I'm going to show you guys an image of what could have been for high-speed rail network in the UK and indeed into Europe. So the former Transport Secretary has said it would be crazy not to renew plans for HS2 rail link as costs have soared. Shapps told the BBC that the Ukraine war and a spike in inflation meant any government would need to make serious decisions on affordability. The BBC understands a definitive decision on HS2 could be made as soon as this week. The government has so far refused to commit to the current plans. HS2 is intended to link London, the Midlands and the north of England, the first part between West London and Birmingham, in its mid-construction. But the scheme as a whole has already faced delays, increased costs and cuts, including the planned east leg between Birmingham and Leeds. The last official estimate on HS2 costs, excluding the cancelled eastern section, added up to about £71 billion. This was in the 2019 price, so that it does not account for the spikes in costs for materials and wages, for example, in recent months. And speaking to Victoria Derbyshire on the BBC Laura Queensberg programme, Mr Shapps said that no decision on the project future has been taken as of yet. We do have to respond to the budgets, he said. We've not only been hit by coronavirus, but the war in Ukraine. Any responsible government has to ask whether their sequencing still stacks up for what the country requires. He added that when previous commitments have been made, no one knew we'd be in a war in Europe right now with all the consequences, all of the costs and all of the inflation. And any government doesn't go back and then look at it is crazy. The Prime Minister and the Chancellor have been discussing the future of Birmingham to Manchester leg of the project against the backdrop of spiralling prices. Chancellor Jeremy Hunt said last week that the costs were getting totally out of control. Many in Westminster believe that almost all of the planned lines from Birmingham to Manchester is likely to be axed, potentially ahead of Conservative Party conference in the city on October the 1st. Former Prime Minister Boris Johnson has warned, however, against mutilating the project in a letter to Rishi Sunak. It was under Mr Johnson's government that HS2 was given the green light to start construction in 2020. Cabinet Minister Shapps said on Sunday that it would be irresponsible to carry on pumping money in because of the increased costs and delays. He said there was a perfectly legitimate question about the sequencing of high-speed rail line. So, I'm just going to show you guys here. Yeah, there we go. So this is sourced from the Department of Transport. You can see there the eastern leg that has been scrapped. That was going to go from East Midways Parkway to Leeds. There was originally the whole excuse me, this whole project was to really connect. This was about upgrading the north, guys. This is not so much about London. This was about upgrading the north and increasing the connections between the northern powerhouses, including the likes of Edinburgh and Scotland, because that was originally what it was supposed to be. They have cut back significantly on this, guys. And there's even talk of cutting it from Birmingham to London Euston as well, which is even crazy considering the amount of money that has been put into this project. Now, I'll share a little bit more as we go along, but I just think there is one way, of course, there's talking about the cost of it, but then there's the other thing of, countries need more. We always need to continue to build on our infrastructure. So Mr Shapps has also suggested that HS2 was not the be-all to end-all for rail connectivity, and said the government has spent £22 billion on transport in the north of England since 2010. However, he would not comment on whether or not separate plans for the Northern Powerhouse rail scheme between Leeds, Manchester and Liverpool will still go ahead if the northern section of HS2 is scrapped. Labour have so far refused to confirm it would fund the HS2 line to Manchester if the Conservatives exit, despite pressure from local mayors such as Andy Burnham. On Sunday, Darren Jones, the new Shadow Chief Secretary for the Treasury, said the Labour Party would love to build the HS2, but said little proper information had been made available by the government. We're only responding to leaks from the Tory party, he said, adding that the party could not make infrastructure commitments worth tens of billions of pounds without seeing all the figures. I will say that Labour are kind of right to say that, but simply because they don't see the numbers. But at the same time, as I said, they're kind of Labour are kind of sitting on the fence, and they kind of have to sit on the fence because they don't know what it's going to be like. It'd be nice for them to say that, but I could also understand why they wouldn't. More than 18 companies and business leaders have sought clarity over the commitment to HS2 on Saturday. That's not good. When you've got this more confusion and more chaos from this government. More confusion and chaos from the government. This government is so infuriating for businesses. The bosses of dozens of business and business groups, including Manchester Airport Group, British Land, Virgin Money and the Northern Powerhouse, all signed a letter to the government urging renewed commitments to HS2, saying that the repeated mixed signals are damaging the UK's reputation and the wider supply chain. In a letter, they expressed deep concern over the constant uncertainty that plagues the project. HS2 was meant to create more capacity and speed up journey times. The government has previously argued that it would have economic benefits too, but critics think it's far too expensive and that the money could be better used in other ways. In March, the Transport Secretary at the time, Mark Harper, said there would be a 2-year delay to the Birmingham to Crewe leg. Work on Euston was also paused while an affordable design was worked on. However, a government spokesperson said on Friday that our focus remains on delivering HS2. So, let me just show you guys something. I think this is it. Yeah. So, this here, guys. This is a European high-speed rail network, a dream map for an integrated Eurostar network by 2050. What could have been, guys? From Glasgow all the way down to, to connect all the way into Europe. That we could have been a part of this. Look at that. Like from the north of Glasgow. I mean, it was a massive, ambitious project, but this is never going to happen now. But we would have liked, something like that. Now, I understand the concerns about the money. I'm also fully aware that we have a cost of living crisis. I'm fully aware of that. We have an immigration crisis. We have an NHS crisis. We have lots and lots of crises taking place. There is absolutely no question about it. Graham Shapps is talking out of his backside when he keeps talking about Ukraine and coronavirus and whatnot. We all know that Brexit has had a massive impact on it too, but they won't mention that, will they? What I will say is that London does not need this, but I will say is that the Northern Powerhouses projects need to continue. They need to give the Northern Powerhouses, the Northern cities, they need the infrastructure. Yeah, London has way too much power. They have the best transport, their network, they have everything. The North needs this, okay? The North needs infrastructure. They need to build more on. And we cannot be leaving them behind. They're already being left behind by London, and it's not right. So I would hope that most of the HS2, at least up the north, is complete. Will carry on and continue. Obviously, it may change by the time you guys see this video. It is incredibly frustrating that a project as expensive as this did start, and the costs have just increased. It is a huge amount of money, a ridiculous amount of money. But at the same time, it will pay back. Once it is done. The idea is that when you invest in a project as expensive as this is, the idea is supposed to pay you back, and you would expect that from Crossrail when that project was completed. You expect that from any project. You expect to get your money back from it in the long term. That's the idea. And we always have to continue to build on the infrastructure. So I can understand if people in the comment section saying that this is costing too much money and it's a waste of taxpayers. I could understand if people were to say that, but at the same time, I also believe that, especially in the north, they need more infrastructure up there. They need it far more than we do down here. That is for sure. And I think it's right that they review the project and look at why it's costing so much. Because Crossrail cost way too much when it was being built, and questions need to be asked about that, in my opinion. But this is a much bigger scale, and it will make a huge difference to the United Kingdom in terms of infrastructure, building jobs, businesses. You know, you want to talk about growing the economy. This is one of the ways you're doing it. You're creating jobs, you're creating businesses, you're creating links between the north and the south and northern powerhouses. This kind of project is what's creating jobs. It's actually good for the economy, the more I think about it now. So I do think, yeah, the HS2 does need to continue. I just wish it didn't cost an absolute fortune to get a ticket for a train. But what do you guys honestly think about HS2? Do you think it should be cut down? Do you think it should be reduced? Should we, or should the UK government actually invest everything into it to make sure the project continues? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Interested to hear your thoughts about HS2 and the links there. Like, share and subscribe as always. Let me know what you think about that map too, the one about the high-speed link to Europe, what could have been as well. Interested to hear your thoughts on that. Like, share and subscribe as always, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.